estate then. I had it back then. I got it now. Don't worry about it. Just be faithful to me. There's a story told of a missionary as you stand to your feet all over the house. The story of the missionary who was coming back because he had been retired by the assembly in which he served. For 30 years he had served faithfully in the continent of Africa. And on the way home, he and his wife, after serving, he was celebrating the fact that he had been faithful for 30 years at the continent of Africa. But on the trip back home, on the boat back home, he came across some reality in his life. On that same boat was the President of the United States, one Theodore Roosevelt. When they got across the ocean and finally got into New York City, the story is told that when Theodore Roosevelt got off the boat, there was a lot of fanfare. Folks were celebrating the arrival of Theodore Roosevelt. But Theodore Roosevelt, he was coming home from a safari. So he had been in the African continent just killing wild animals and a recreational experience. And when he got home, he got off the boat and there was people that greet him and celebrate his arrival. But the missionary and his wife, when they got off the boat, there wasn't nobody there. They were all by themselves, and the missionary's heart got heavy. He started getting real discouraged. Well, and they got into a taxi when Theodore Roosevelt got into a parade of limousines. And as the missionary and his wife drove in the taxi, they were silent. They silently sat there. They were wondering what the future will hold for them. But they came across some traffic in New York City, and the taxi they were in had to stand still, and it was Theodore Roosevelt. He was entering into the parade and cavalry of the cavalry there in New York City, and there was ticker tape coming all over the place. And the missionary and his wife, tears started coming down his eyes, but yet they sat silent. The parade went past. People celebrated the arrival home of the President of the United States. The missionary and his wife, they get to the hotel, and they're in the hotel, and they're just struggling a little bit because of discouragement that nobody was there to greet them when they got home. Nobody was there to celebrate their retirement when they got home. And so there they were in the hotel room, and the missionary man, he got so despondent and discouraged that he took a walk that night. His wife asked him, "Where are you going?" He just says, "I got to talk to God. I got a problem here." The man takes the walk and he communes with God, and he says, "God, I was faithful to you for 30 years. Never complained. I just did your will. I saved souls. The continent of Africa has salvation because we have been committed for 30 years. And he said, but when I got home, there was nobody to celebrate me. Now, when I got home, they didn't give me a ticker tape parade. And when I got home, it was just me and my wife. Lord, how and why have you forsaken me? I'm discouraged in my spirit." The man walks back to the hotel room, and he walks in and he's celebrating. He's just praising God. And the wife said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I had a little talk with God. I told him all about my discouragement, that I felt forsaken, that nobody was there to celebrate me when I got home. Nobody was there to give me a celebration, a ticker tape parade when I got home." And the wife said, "Well, what happened?" "The Lord told me you ain't home yet. So that's why you ain't got your celebration." And that's the word for somebody today. As tough as life may get, don't give in to discouragement. Knowing that your work for Jesus is not in vain. Because Jesus will show up. And just when you're at the end of your rope and you don't know how you're going to make it, don't let Satan rob your joy. Recalibrate your mind and just tell yourself the Lord is going to make a way somehow. That's my word for you today as the people of God. Celebrate that you serve a God that won't let you fail.